Ferdina Driver-Romero with the Nevada Department of Education, and I am pleased to be able to help support this presentation and providing some information on the NSHE's Native American Fee Waiver. And it's just thrilling to be able to provide this information, all of the hard work that people did to do this. So, you know, coming in at the tail end to help provide the presentation, but we also want to recognize all those who worked diligently to make this happen. Marky.
Thank you, Ferdina. Hello, everyone. My name is Marky Wilder. I am a member of the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe, and I also am the coordinator for Indigenous Student Services here in the Multicultural Center at the University of Nevada, Reno. And I have the pleasure of accepting the applications and when they first come into the university. So when students are submitting applications, I'm the one that's making sure they have all of the documents and then sending them on to the rest of the university. So I'm here to answer some questions and kind of help Fawn and Ferdina give this presentation. So thank you, guys.
And thank you, Marky, for joining us. We're thrilled that you're here with us in participating. And if you could give us a little bit of the background information, Marky, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so the NSHE Native American Fee Waiver is what it is called in the Nevada system of higher education, but it started off as Assembly Bill 262. It was started by Natha Anderson. She reached out to some grassroots organizations, nonprofits, and started reaching out saying, I want to put this on the, I want to do this bill. And she said she knew, like, from the get-go, I know this is late, but let's try to push it through. And so a lot of community members started meeting weekly with grassroots organizations, tribal minds. A lot of educators, stakeholders in the state started meeting. And I think the first meeting was just in February, and then the bill passed in May. So people were meeting, groups of community members were meeting weekly, and it was whoever could show up in these meetings, Native stakeholders, educators, people from the Reno Sparks Indian Colony. I don't remember their names, but Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe and Marla McDade Williams was huge in writing this bill and working together with lobbyists. And every week, you know, everyone's trying to learn how to write policy, pass policy in such a short amount of time, and meeting with Natha Anderson, who was the sponsor of the bill. And again, everybody was kind of like a learning process. There's a lot of people that have wanted a tuition waiver. 15-20 years have been working on this, trying to pass it in different capacities, and finally, like, there was a chance, and people just, you know, submitted testimony. Any chance they could get, people were rallying kind of behind this. And so it was really cool to be a part of it, watch it, and then also implement it. And so was it the end of May or June, I believe, that it got passed. And it's I think you'll go down in history as one of the most impactful bill about in education. So it's really an awesome thing to be a part of, and like Ferdina was saying, to kind of present on it, implement it. And it's all very new, and we're all learning how to wrinkle out this process, but we're hoping that it continues on and we can just get better at this presentation. So bear with us as we are all learning this new law that went into place. So
thank you, Marky. Again, just amazing people that worked on this bill to make it move forward, and the tribes that backed it. And now our children are going to be able to take advantage of this. And so so thank you for that background information. And I know that you were very instrumental in also pulling, you know, information working at the institution, the University of Nevada, Reno. So that was very helpful. So thank you, Marky, for all the work that you did as well. Fawn?
So today's presentation, or this evening's presentation, the majority of the presentation is going to be provided by Nevada System of Higher Education, NSHE, that is going to talk about the Native American Fee Waiver. So at this time, we have a presentation that was built by NSHE that we will present this evening. So that way it comes directly from NSHE.
Fee waiver. Who is eligible? What is covered? How to apply? And finally, who to contact with any questions or help through the application process. First of all, who is eligible? We'll be going through the requirements of eligibility for this program. Eligibility requirements for this program are laid out in legislative statute and in the Board of Regents handbook. The requirements for this program are for a student to be admitted to an NSHE or Nevada System of Higher Education institution, to have been a resident of Nevada for no less than 1 year, to show proof of membership or proof of descendancy of a member of a federally recognized tribal nation, all of part of which must be located within the state of Nevada. A student must also be enrolled in a program leading to a certificate, associate, bachelor's, master's, doctoral, or professional degree, must complete the pre-application for federal student aid, also called FAFSA, and must have earned a minimum 2.0 GPA during the immediately prior semester or term for which the waiver is requested. This waiver may be applied at any of the 7 degree-granting institutions within NSHE. These are the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, the University of Nevada, Reno, Nevada State College.
Marky, did we want to back up and talk about any of what he just spoke on? And mute?
Unmute. Yeah, if you just go back, it would be helpful if I could just see the bullet points really quick. Yeah, so for eligibility requirements, like the first thing is making sure your student is admitted to an NSHE institution. A lot of students have been doing the tuition waiver first. And so that application will just, sorry, my baby's here at work. So if you send that in without filling out that application, it will just be pending because there's no application on file here on campus. So make sure you're admitted, you got that letter that says you have been accepted to the university or any of the institutions. Shows proof of membership or proof of descendancy, making sure you have those proof of documents. Wait 1 second. Making sure you have proof of those documents. And I believe later we could talk about how to get those documents. And another important point is that you have to be degree seeking to enroll. So you cannot be enrolled in, like, you can't take the scuba diving class here because that's not a degree here, like on our campus. It's just a extra class. So you have to be degree seeking. You have to be going towards an associate's, a trade certificate of some sort. Even if you don't apply, or even if you don't qualify was the word I was thinking of for financial aid, you still have to fill it out. It's a requirement of the bill. So everybody has to do that. A lot of people who don't qualify are not filling that out. So that's really important. Has earned a 2.0 semester. That's only So after your freshman or your first semester here on campus. So whenever you are in school, in college, at any of the institutions, no matter what, after that first semester, you have to have a 2.0. So if you don't have that 2.0, you cannot be eligible for the waiver. But if you, and there's more, we can go into it more, but that's the.
And I did, and I'm sure it's going to touch on it as well later on, but if it doesn't, you can actually, your student can actually apply up to 10 institutions for the FAFSA application. So if the student decides, I want to go to Durango, or I'm going to apply to Haskell, but I'm also going to apply to like all of the NSHEs in Nevada, just hypothetical, they can actually do that. They can apply up to 10 institutions. So making sure that, you know, it just because they're not applying doesn't mean that they can apply for it. Okay, we're gonna start from here.
And I know you had a question, so we can just save your questions and then we'll go to the end and then we'll try to tie those questions back in. Okay,
And this
thank you.
presentation will actually, we'll put it in the chat, the YouTube video for this. So you can go back and rewind and get all the information you need.
A minimum 2.0 GPA during the immediately prior semester or term for which the waiver is requested. This waiver may be applied at any of the 7 degree-granting institutions with an NSHE. These are the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, the University of Nevada, Reno, Nevada State College, College of Southern Nevada, Great Basin College, Rocky Meadows Community College, and Western Nevada College. It's important to note that each of these institutions have their own admission requirements and deadlines. So it will be important to contact the institution that a student is planning to attend. At the end of this presentation, I will have contacts for this program who you may talk with to go over all deadlines and requirements. To qualify for the fee waiver, the student must be a resident of Nevada for no less than 1 year. And if a student qualifies for this waiver, they will also qualify to be a resident for tuition purposes, and therefore be charged in-state fees. A student who already qualified as a resident for tuition purposes or is a Millennium Scholar may have already submitted their required residency documentation. The registrar's office will review and contact the student if they don't have sufficient evidence to support their residency requirement. There are cases where a student may have qualified for resident for tuition purposes, or may be a Millennium Scholar, but did not have 12 months of residency in Nevada, and therefore will not qualify for the waiver.
Marky?
Okay, so this one is probably the most trickiest, the most out of the bill. So the residency in Nevada for no less than 1 year, in order to have that valid residency, that's what it's talking about. These few points down here, you can qualify for the Millennium. So if your student qualifies for the Millennium, you can just click. There's a actual checkbox on the application, and then the institution will know, okay, you qualified for Millennium, you have qualified for the in-state residency. But the tricky part is, it says in some cases a student qualifies as a resident for tuition purposes or Millennium Scholar, but does not have 12 months residency in Nevada and does not qualify for the waiver. So you have to have, I'm trying to think of the term to say it. You have to have you have to be a high school graduate, which that would be on there. I'm kind of, huh? Yes, so sorry, so sorry, so sorry. So in order for you to have that, it's either a driver's license, your taxes documents. There's a whole list of things that people can submit and qualify. The cool thing about that is that NSHE let us put in all of these documents, because at first it was just the general mailing address, stuff that Native people don't possibly have to prove residency, that we usually have a hard time proving. So there is a whole list of stuff that everyone could submit, and it's like mainly is driver's license will cover it. Nevada's driver's license. You have that. Okay, that's simple. But again, if you don't qualify for any of these the check boxes on there, the 3 check boxes on the thing, there's the residency affidavit. And basically you just say you were living with a family member or with this person, and they sign off it, and the institution will accept that document. The only, I think, trouble is if you were like in a high school in California and then try to say that, that's when your documents all have to line up that you have from the state of Nevada, if that makes sense. So usually, even if you don't check a box, and the institution will be able to see if you're a high school graduate and qualify you. So it's really not that important on that thing to kind of like wonder which box. Some people click all of them, and we have to verify it anyways. So not a big deal on there. And it also goes with the documents that you attach to prove your residency. But there isn't a document that you have to send in with it, and then we kind of match it up and can check it. So
Well, thank you, Marky, for putting this in real people terms.
Waiver. Another eligibility requirement is proof of membership or descendancy. A student must meet one of these 2 requirements, either proof of membership by submitting a tribal card or similar documentation from the tribe or nation, or proof of descendancy, which must come from the Bureau of Indian Affairs or the student's tribe or nation. A certificate of degree of Indian blood is an example of acceptable documentation for proof of descendancy.
And I think that one is really just, cut and clear. What I do want to also mention on that piece is, and I tried to pause it as quickly as I could, is if a tribal member has descendancy in a tribe, say for instance, they're enrolled in a tribe in Arizona with their father, but their mother is an enrolled member of the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe. They can actually show descendancy, and they would work with their enrollment people in that tribe to show that they have descendancy. And that student, of course, has to have lived in Nevada for for the 12 months to be able to use the waiver. Anything else, Marky?
yeah, I was just gonna add that to make sure that it's a certified document. It doesn't have to be the actual certified document you're sending in, but a lot of people have been sending in their own lineage and kind of wanting us to prove me to look through. I'm like, I believe you, but I can't believe, so making sure that the tribe, it doesn't have to be sent from the tribe, but just a copy of a certified document. So even if it's just their letterhead, signature of the enrollment, like a certified document saying you got it from, Bureau of Affairs or your own tribe or different places like that.
Fee waiver may be used by a degree-seeking student, which includes a certificate of achievement, an associate degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctoral degree, or professional degree. To be eligible for the fee waiver, a student must remain degree seeking throughout the time they are using this fee waiver.
So before we go into this next section, I also want to mention that, you know, as a mother, Erin, you would probably be eligible for any of those as well. So just keep that in mind.
FAFSA is required annually. It's advisable to complete the FAFSA as soon as you're able to each year. The FAFSA is always available October 1st of each year for the following academic year. For example, the FAFSA for the 2022-2023 academic year opened on October 1st of 2021. Be sure to include the college or university for which you are applying. And it's important to note that this application is free, and you should never pay money to fill out the free application for federal student aid. And it is available at studentaid.gov.
Marky, did you want to mention anything on this piece?
Financial aid. Right now, I think it's a little confusing for our students when you're filling out the application because it's open right now, but also so is the application for if students want to enroll for this spring semester. And that's confusing because it's 2022. So it'll be the 2021-2022 application. It's up. So already we've had some confusion with some of our students. So really make sure if your student is coming next fall to fill out the application that is 2022 to 2023. So you're gonna have to do it again if you do that. So don't make more work for yourself. But if you're interested in the the spring semester, 21-22 free application. And then just like we said earlier, even if you don't qualify or your student doesn't qualify, it has to be filled out. You honestly get more, of the waiver if you don't qualify for the, so say your family contribution is, 10, 15,000, that student is going to benefit more. So that's kind of interesting. So the families are like, oh, we don't qualify. I'm like, well, fill it out because you're going to get more from this waiver. And
I had a thought and I don't remember what it was, but yes, fill out the FAFSA. Oh, I know what it was. Most tribes will ask you for a needs analysis. So you do have to fill out the financial aid because of that. Not all tribes, but most of our tribes, especially if you're applying and they're going to provide BIA money funding. So be sure to fill out that FAFSA no matter what.
Okay. The final eligibility requirement is a grade point average of 2.0 for the semester for initial and continued eligibility. This GPA is for the semester or term, not the cumulative GPA. Now, a student who has prior attendance and a low GPA may attend without the waiver for a fall, spring, or summer semester or term to reinstate eligibility and become eligible for the waiver. Although the waiver may not be used in summer term, summer GPA does count toward eligibility.
Before we move forward, Marky, is there anything you would like to see on that section?
Just the bottom point of if you do not qualify for the waiver, you can take a winter semester class or a summer semester class. It won't be covered by the waiver, but you can take it. So you take one class and you get an A in that class. Your GPA for that summer semester or winter semester would be 4.0. So then you reinstate your application because you qualify now because you have over a 2.0. So that I think that's the coolest nuance of the thing, is that you can be kicked off of the waiver very easily if you don't have that 2.0 after every semester, but it's very easy to get back. So you can take one semester class, you have to pay for it, but it's a lot cheaper than a whole semester. So that's really cool.
And I know that there was a tip from our last conversation that if you do fall below a 2.0, you could just take one class, and it has to have a letter grade to it attached so that it generates a GPA, and to show that you are eligible. And it could be any class. It could be, scuba diving. I don't know. If it generates a GPA, it could be used.
Now that we have gone through all the eligibility requirements, next we'll discuss what is covered by the fee waiver. This fee waiver will pay for registration fees, laboratory fees, and other mandatory fees not covered by federal education benefits. Federal education benefits include the Pell Grant, Federal Supplemental Opportunity Grant, Teach Grant, and other veterans or military education benefits. What is not included as a federal benefit, and therefore will not be subtracted from the value of the waiver, are student loans, tribal education grants or scholarships, Millennium Scholarship, Silver State Opportunity Grant, or other institutional scholarships and grants. You will also notice that this slide does not have the word tuition on it, and that is because in-state students are not charged tuition. They are instead charged the fees called registration, lab, and other miscellaneous mandatory fees. And a student who qualifies for this waiver will automatically be an in-state student for tuition purposes.
Okay, so I think that slide also had some really great information on it. So I'm going to pause there. This is a really important slide of what is covered. Marky, can you give a little bit more information on this slide?
Yeah, so this waiver is a last money in is what they call it. So if your student has federal scholarships, those are all go towards tuition first. So an important tip is to make sure you're getting a lot of other scholarships that are not just your tribal scholarship, because like it says in here, those will not be going towards your tuition. So you will get if you qualify for your Bureau of Indian Education funds, you will get those refunded, but all of that financial aid goes first. So a lot of students aren't seeing any refunds from that financial aid, but they are getting refunds from their other scholarships. And then another thing that is not included in the fee waiver is your insurance at the school. Through this, I think more grad students worry about that. And then electric course materials. So there are some fees that have to get paid. So if you're in like engineering, you have to pay for like the software to code and stuff like that. And that's all online. So those are not covered either. So those are some of the fees that you're gonna see in your tuition pop up, is like insurance. If your son, daughter chooses insurance, you're going to have to pay for that out of pocket. Also, room and board is not covered, so you're going to have to pay for your dorms or wherever you stay. The cool thing is that the budget increase when your student comes in, they automatically get a student budget, and that budget is based on how many credits they're taking and if they're on campus or off campus. So if you're a 12, 15 credit student, you get $25,000 you can get in scholarships. So many students aren't getting that max amount of scholarships. And all of that can be money that's refunded to you or taken to the grant. And that goes with your Pell. I'm probably talking too much about all the details, but those are like, it's really cool. So depending on the caseload or credit load that your son is taking, daughter, that's kind of depends. So every student, and that's why like it's kind of takes a while for the team to process each waiver, is because they have to go into, say, my account and say, okay, Marky has Millennium Scholarship, she has the Teach Grant, she has the Veterans, she also has Millennium. And so all of those things have to be budgeted across. And then the waiver, they say, okay, she has $5,000 left over, she gets $5,000 for the waiver. So that's kind of how that works.
Thank you, Marky.
Now that we have discussed eligibility requirements and what is covered by the fee waiver, we'll next discuss the application process. You may find the NSHE Native American Fee Waiver application at nshe.nevada.edu under NSHE forms. This application will have everything on it that is required to apply, and it is submitted to the institution designated office, which is listed at the end of the application. If you're continuously enrolled every fall and spring semester, only one application is needed. However, if there is a break in enrollment, you may need to resubmit the form.
I think the most important part about this one is to always go to the link. And I believe he said that. Go to the link because that's the most updated form. People's contact information is at the bottom, and that changes. People are, taking on different roles and within their institution. And then it's pretty straightforward. You only have to fill out the waiver one time, unless you take off a semester. If you take off a semester, you need to fill it out again for the next semester. So that's about it about that part.
I did want to touch on, here is the page that you'll find the format. And I believe Marky will put it in the chat if you can, Marky. You'll scroll down. Here is the fee waiver form. It'll take you directly to it. I'm not going to pull it up because I don't want to mess up my screen. Well, I guess I could. It's just basically what is said. It'll talk about the general information, the eligibility requirements, the continuing eligibility. And then this is a really easy step. You just put in, the last name, first name. So it's a type in, you'll receive an NSHE ID and what semester you're going into. I'm going to go in spring 2022. I'm going to do an electronic signature and a date. So it's that simple. You'll identify which one of these tribal nations you come from. I come from Wababanda Paiutes. So I will mark that. Additional requirements. And I'll click on what I need to click on. Then I'll find my institution where it's at. I want to go to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. So I'm going to talk to John Jacobs. That's who I'm going to talk to. I might have some questions for Fawn because I'm in Washoe County School District. Fawn will basically send you to John Jacobs because he will have the questions and answers. That's the application form. Pretty cut and dry, pretty easy.
And still people forget to sign it. Just kidding. So that's another most important thing. Make sure you sign it because that's just been forgotten, I guess.
And finally, we have designated fee waiver coordinators at each institution. These coordinators are your best contact for questions about the program, how to apply, eligibility, or anything else where they may be of assistance. Thank you for listening to this presentation and have a good day.
Nope. Okay, I'm gonna try to get out of this.
And we'll open up if you have your questions still, you can ask the question before we start, but we are gonna go through some Q&A and what that looks like on their, they have a Q&A page as well, but you can go ahead and ask your question if you have a question.
Hi, my name is Erin. So I guess my question is for the Descendancy piece. So I am a registered tribal member. I'm part of the Timok Western Shoshone tribe, but my children are not because they fall right underneath the quarter. So does this still apply for them for the Descendancy piece?
So you would reach out to your enrollment department.
Okay.
They would probably ask, I know Pyramid Lake and other tribes have asked for your enrollment card,
Mhm.
your kids' birth certificates,
Okay.
kind of linking that lineage to you. And then they just send in a simple letter and it just says your student's name is descendant of the Timok tribe through parent, your name, and then it kind of has all that information. And they're pretty good. They're pretty fast about it. I had a lot of, I guess, because they have the quarter blood quantum thing, a lot of descendancy from Timok. So that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, theirs is, we tried passing a bill, but they cut it off at a quarter. So I just wanted to double check on the Descendancy piece.
Yeah, so it's pretty easy, I think, straightforward.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
And in our last conversation, we actually had, I think, an example. Marky, you don't have that available, do you?
My files are a mess from the tuition waiver. When I was telling you, like, they'll just send a letter, I was gonna go find it, but I'll be here for a few minutes. So I was like, yeah, I can send it to you, but like I said, they were pretty quick about turning around with students, which was cool.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful opportunity because, you know, me being from a tribe outside of Nevada, still a Paiute tribe, but outside of Nevada, and with a mother living in or from the Wapabana Paiutes, I would totally be eligible, as well as your children not meeting that blood quorum. So it's a blessing for our children. I'm gonna pull up and choose frequently asked questions, and we'll just kind of quickly go through them. We got about 15 more minutes. I'll just do the first one. Fawn and Markey, follow. Are the residency requirements for the NSHE Native American Fee Waiver the same as requirements for NSHE residency for tuition purposes? No, students who qualify for the fee waiver also qualify as residents for tuition purposes at any NSHE institution. However, not all students who qualify as residents for tuition purposes will qualify for the waiver. Because 12-month residency in Nevada is not always a requirement when establishing residency for tuition purposes under Handbook Title 4, Chapter 15, Section 3, students who establish residency in this manner may not meet the fee requirements of being a resident in Nevada for no less than 1 year.
And that's just basically saying, because for tuition purposes, if you graduate from a Nevada high school, you automatically are in-state tuition, but those waivers different. So that's kind of what that's saying.
Mark, you want to take the second one while you're?
Okay, does a continuing student who is classified as a resident for tuition purposes need to submit residency documentation with the fee waiver form? Students who select the currently attending option on the NSHE Native American Fee Waiver form under step 3 do not need to submit residency documentation at the time they submit the fee waiver form. The institution will review the student records for evidence of 12 months residency in Nevada. If this cannot be documented, the institution will follow up with the student to request documentation. So that was just to my point of, we're gonna go through and verify where you are at. It's on the phone. Shut. It's a full copy. Go get my
Juan?
Okay.
Go say-
Does a student who qualifies for the NSHE Native American Fee Waiver need to also apply for the residency for tuition purposes? The answer to that is no. A student who meets the fee waiver eligibility requirements shall be deemed a bona fide resident of Nevada for tuition purposes at any NSHE institution. That's the same as her resident, as long as they're residency.
Right. And when using the NSHE Native American Fee Waiver Residency Affidavit, the student may have lived in multiple places within a 12-month period. Do these students need to complete and obtain signatures for multiple property owners? The answer is yes. A student who is unable to prove 1-year residency through documentation, as the example state, will need to submit one or more affidavits as necessary for evidence of the entire 12-month period. So you see a listing of all the examples.
When can the waiver be used? Are we on that one?
Mhm.
Perfect. The waiver can be used beginning fall 2021 and for any fall or spring semester thereafter, provided the student maintains eligibility. So the 2.0 is probably the biggest one.
Okay, and just like Marky said, but what are the requirements for maintaining the eligibility for the fee waiver? For continuously enrolled students, there are no need to resubmit the fee waiver for each semester in order to remain eligibility. The student must maintain a 2.0 though for the semester grade point average. In addition to the student must complete a FAFSA for each year for which the fee waiver is desired. If the student has a break in enrollment, a new fee waiver form must be submitted for that semester the student returns.
What
maintain
happens
it-
if the,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead, any questions?
No, just maintaining that 2.0 is just like Marky said, is the most important.
Yeah, and you see it again on the next question. What happens if a student does not maintain that 2.0? You know, the fee waiver will then be reinstated for the immediate so for the fall or the spring semester. Again, it can't be used in the summer term, so as stated in the presentation, but students may use the summer GPA for reinstatement purposes. Very important to keep that 2.0 or higher. Can the student utilize the waiver at multiple NSHE institutions concurrently? Yes, assuming the student is eligible at more than one institution. The student may utilize the waiver at those institutions at the same time. A separate form needs to be submitted at each institution. Juan?
So the
Next
next one is, will the waiver cover high school dual enrollment courses? And the answer to that is no. In order to be eligible for the fee waiver, a student must be a degree seeking college level student. So really that's like your jumpstart courses. I know some of our jumpstart classes, some of our students are in there. That's a class that my son's in, although he is degree seeking and will receive his AA when he graduates, but he is not considered a college level. He's still in high school. So that's where it's a no, they will not receive the waiver.
And then we heard in the presentation what courses will be covered by the waiver. It covers state-supported academic credit-bearing courses that lead to a certificate, associate's, a bachelor degree, a master's degree, or even a doctoral degree, or even professional degrees, law, doctoral degrees, or doctors, including distance education courses, independent learning, wow, and continuing education courses as long as the student is degree seeking. The waiver also covers co-requisites and corresponding support courses, including course numbers below 100. So that's like a intermediate algebra or an intermediate 090 English course, pre-algebra, any of those courses. Fun?
That's pretty good. That's like a math 95, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so will taking a student loan affect my eligibility from the NSHE Native American Fee Waiver? No, it will not. Student loans will not affect this. The amount of the waiver must be equal to the balance of registration fees, laboratory fees, and other mandatory fees assessed against the student that remain unpaid after the student's account has been credited, with the full amount of any federal education benefits, excluding loans to which the student is entitled to for that semester, or if the student is not entitled to receive any federal education benefits for the semester, the full amount of the registration fees, laboratory fees, and any other mandatory fee assessments against the student for that semester. Federal education benefits include federal grants, including but not limited to the Pell Grant, Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, Teach Grant, and any federal education benefits.
What is included in the term federal education benefits? The answer is federal education benefits include the Pell Grant, the Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunities Grant. Did we read this? Oh, that's up there. Okay. And any other veterans education benefits. Arky, this is one for you. Question 13.
Okay, are students who reside in California or a bordering state on tribal land and are members of a federally recognized tribe for Nevada considered residents for the purpose of the fee waiver? No, students who are residing on tribal land that is not located within the boundaries of the state of Nevada are not eligible for the fee waiver. Students who reside in Woodsburg, California would not be considered a resident for the purpose of this fee waiver. To be eligible for the fee waiver, a student must have been a resident of the state for not less than 1 year. So that one's a little tricky and a lot of pushback from that, but I
Yes,
think
'cause
students are more aware now to start preparing, getting a Nevada driver's license, living with some other family, now that they know a year in advance, but the students that just came in, that kind of affected them a lot, so.
Yeah, and that includes our other bordering tribes. You're looking at Idaho, Oregon, and other areas that may be affected as well as California.
Does financial assistance provided by a tribe or nation reduce the fee waiver amount? No. Any grants or scholarships issued by a tribe or nation will not be reduced. The amount of the fee waiver, including but not limited to tribal assistance. Juan?
Sorry, I am a student who is currently attending Sierra Nevada University. Is a fee waiver available to me? So currently not at this time. Sierra Nevada University will remain a separate institution at least through the 2021-22 academic year, and the fee waiver is available only to eligible students attending an NSHE institution. The point in time which Sierra Nevada University students register for classes at UNR, the student will be eligible to apply for the fee waiver.
So Sierra Nevada University was basically just bought out by UNR. So they're working with Nevada Department of Education, and hopefully July 1. We heard from the president yesterday that it's a lot of documentation, but so if your student's interested in Sierra Nevada University by next fall, they will be able to go to Lake Tahoe and pay UNR fees, because it'll be the University of Nevada, Reno in Lake Tahoe. So that's kind of cool. So for Dina, we can do stuff there.
Yes, I will go to work there. No, just kidding. Wow. Thank you, Marky and Fawn, for helping us present this to our students. And please note that the YouTube video is in the link to the presentation. Frequently asked questions, the link to the NSHE website that has the application and the frequently asked question is also in the link in the chat. And any questions, please reach out to any of the university or college that you're interested in attending. So we look forward to providing more information about this as it evolves. Any
Yes.
further questions, Erin? Nope.
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you for attending. And then also our presentation will be available on the Washoe County School District Parent University YouTube website.